Matt Boldy, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome into another live show. Let's not waste any time. Let's go right to the man of the hour. Good evening, Denny.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to What the Hell Are You Smoking? Tonight's episode, we're going to talk about my evaluation of the Wild, what I think they need, which is pretty much what everybody thinks. And I have a new trade package for you guys to think about. And I don't know. We'll just talk about what comes up on the comment section. I got some serious issues going on. I can barely walk. I'm going back to the hospital tomorrow. And I'm not feeling all that good, but I want to make sure and get the show in before I go, because who knows what's going to happen. But to start out, for the year, for the playoffs, I give the Wild a C. They made the playoffs last game of the year. And, the whole goal is to win 16 games in the playoffs, and we won 2. That shows you how far we have to go. And as far as the Wild personnel, a lot of things are going to change this summer. So I'm not going to throw Billy under the bus yet, because he could actually do something really good. And it's hard to know what he's going to do. I think it's a foregone conclusion that he's trading Rossi. Excuse me. And if you saw the article on the Soda Pod that Craig Button did on the Rossi trade, that really says it all. It's ridiculous why he's doing it, but that's Billy for you. So what I did is I started looking for new trade packages, because number one, the free agent market, I wouldn't build a team from them. No, they're going to be overpaid, and other than Marner, they're all 50-point players or less, wanting top money out. But one thing I found interesting is the hockey guy did a deal on Brock Besser, and he says he wouldn't sign him to a long-term deal because he's lost foot speed. And if THG is saying he wouldn't sign him to a long-term contract, well, you can pretty much count on it, because Vancouver is his team. So moving on from Besser, I think is probably a good thing. And what I did is I started looking at other teams, and because the New York Islanders just got a new general manager, and the position they're in was basically last in their division, they're open. They're open market. And I'll tell you a couple players I really like. Matthew Barzal. He'd be our first line center. 2 years ago, he had 80 points in 80 games. Last year, he was hurt, so he only played 30 games, and he had 20 points in 30 games. But he would make a very nice addition. He would fill in the 1C for us with no problem at all. And I think playing with Kaprizov, he could be a 100-point player. I mean, he's very talented. He's very creative on the ice. He's a good skater. There are no weaknesses to his game other than maybe his face-off. He's a little weak on that, but I guess he's been working on it. So hopefully that would bear fruit. And then another player would be Anders Lee, Minnesota boy. And Barzell's 28 years old, and his contract is till 2030, and it's 9.1 million a year. So he would be an excellent fit for us. And with Anders Lee, he's 34. He's 6'3", 240. He's got legs like tree trunks. You can't hardly move him out from front of the net. I mean, greasy goals is what he gets, and he's very good at it. And he gets $5.5 million a year. He had 53 points this year, 29 goals, 24 assists. He would be a hell of an addition. And here's my trade package for him. I got Rossi Ogren, a first-round pick, and 4 players after the top 8 in the Iowa Wild. I'll just let them pick who they want. I mean, I would offer up Hunter Haight, David Spacek, Carson Lambos, and whoever they like. I would not trade our top, nothing in the top 5. That means Jurasek, Z. Boyum, Danila Yurov, Wallstead, Charlie. I wouldn't touch any of them. But I think because New York Islanders, their farm club's very weak too. They're pretty depleted. And you have to look at it this way when you're doing a trade. I got a lot of guff about when I brought up my trade package for Tage Thompson. You have to understand, you have to give them a deal that wows them. They're going to be better without Tage Thompson in their eyes for what we're offering. And that's what you have to do. There are no standard deals in hockey. It's not, especially not for top tier players. And if you're Buffalo and you're looking, Buffalo would have to look up, would we be better off without Tage Thompson with the package I'm presenting? I don't think they'll go for it. On the other hand, the New York Islanders, I think, is a real possibility. So I give them 4 players and a first-round pick. And if I had to give up another player, I would. They're just assets. They're probably never, look at Carson Lambos. He's stuck down there. We're never going to see him up here. The same with Spacek, Hunter Haight. They're assets. And assets are used to improve your club. And this is if we could get Matthew and Anders Lee, that would be a huge pickup for us. And I think it's something, Billy, that you should really consider because they fit our needs. Anders Lee is a left side. Even though he's 34 years old, oh, excuse me, that's the beer talking. He'd be a hell of an addition along with Barzal. And that would really fit the needs that we have to fill. And I looked at all the free agents coming out. And of course, Marner's at top. I mean, he wants 12 to 14 million. He's going to get it from somebody, I'm sure. He's a 100-point player. But I wouldn't touch him. He might look good in Chicago, actually. And Chicago has the money to spend on him. And I think Chicago's going to really go all in this year. They have so much young talent. That would be a huge addition for them. As far as the rest of the players, they're all very average. I mean, good players. I'm still dead set. I'm pretty sure that Brock Nelson's going to sign here once they can. That's the only reason I can see why Billy put him on 4 Nations was to talk to him face to face. So he can't get for collusion or whatever they want to call it. And a lot of people are against Brock Nelson. But I can tell you this, he'd be our best fourth line center, number one. And he's still very productive. I mean, with Colorado, he had 13 points in 19 games. And yeah, he didn't do much in the playoffs, but brand new team. He's not as fast as he used to be. You know, the Islanders are not a fast team at all. And that's why they need a lot of upgrades. But he would look really good on our fourth line. And like I talked about Besser, I would pass on him after listening to KHG's. He's lost foot speed, so he would pass on the long-term contract for him. And I would just go with trades. It's the only way you can maximize your deal for Rossi's. You got to include him in the trade to get something. I would not go. Maybe one player, and not really even. I mean, I would just stay away from the free agent market. They're going to be overpaid, and that's not how I would build a team. I'm definitely through the trades. And then Craig Button had a deal on Jurasek on SodaPod, right? And he's saying that Jurasek is nothing but a number 5 defenseman. Well, I disagree wholeheartedly. Jurasek will have the best shot on the Wild when he joins the team. It's such a heavy shot. I would not be surprised if you see him tee off on one and it breaks the glass. That's how heavy his shot is. He's a game breaker. I mean, when you saw him score that goal when he was playing, that's a goal scorer's goal, and that's from a defenseman. That's, you know, Jurasek skating is, of course, they're working on it, and he's going to get better. When you got Jurasek and Brodin, Spurgeon, William, Brock Faber, and Middleton, that's the makings of a cup contending defense right there, especially with Gus Bus and Wallstead in goal. But we need a couple up top, as we all know. And I think I'd like what you're thinking about Matthew Barzal and Anders Lee coming and playing for the Wild, because I think it really makes sense, number one. And it fits two of our biggest needs. Now, I know Anders Lee's 34 years old, but I don't care. You know, everybody's so hot on the age. Well, if you look at all the players that are left, you know, Edmonton and Florida, how many kids do you see playing on the team? Everything okay?
My computer fried.
No.
Yeah, it's I can't access my mic or my camera.
I can hear you.
I'm on my phone.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so I think my laptop just blew up.
So nobody can hear us.
Oh, it's on. My camera and microphone I can't get them to work.
Oh.
We're still
okay.
live.
Okay. So that means you can't look up the Hockey Wilderness.
Yeah, I can. I mean, I've got my laptop. The laptop capacity of my laptop is still working, but the microphone and the camera appear to be fully dead.
Okay. Well, if you can look up Hockey Wilderness, because they, you know, my last show was about Billy Guerin Part 2, right? The very next day, Hockey Wilderness came out with a big article on Billy and how bad he really is. Everything I said. Plus, they went in depth about all his trades and all the bad deals he has made in the last couple of years. And we wanted to discuss. I was going to have Seth read it out, and then we can all discuss it. Because Billy has not been very good the last couple of years. I mean, when you think about what he has done, signing Trenton a 4-year deal. And of course, Nyquist, Brazeau, none of them make any sense. And I'm glad they're gone. And Billy better not be signing Mojo again. I mean, I don't know why he would, but, how does a player who only scores 11 goals a year become a second-line winger is beyond me. Unless he's got dirt on him or something, I don't know. I can't comprehend why Mojo was on the second line again. And I hope he stays gone because last year he took the year off. This year he played a little bit at the end because he's playing for a contract. Well, I think he's going to end up over in Sweden because I don't think anybody's going to sign him over here because everybody knows he didn't play. How's it coming?
Keep going. I'm just trying to figure out what happened.
Okay. All right. Can you read who's in the box?
We've got some questions here.
Yeah, let's get to them.
So Jeremy wants to know, what are the odds that Rossi gets dealt?
I think it's 100%. What I'm trying to do is create trade packages to maximize Rossi's value. That's the unknown. I think a minimum is a first, a really good player, and a player to be named, depending on how well he does.
My question, Denny, on your proposal for Anders Lee and Matt Barzal is, how do you clear $16 million off the cap?
Well, it's got to make some moves. And here's the beauty of it.
That might preclude you from a Gustafsson extension.
No, you can make moves, or you can do what Phoenix did a couple of years ago, is buy contracts. See, and now that the hit on what is it, 95 million? Well, the minimum, I'm not sure what the minimum. I think it's either 83 or 85. And San Jose has to spend a lot of money because they're way under. Well, you can make deals with San Jose to take a lot of the cap relief off and give them a pick. So what? That's one way of doing it. I mean, Phoenix did it for a couple of years, and they did just fine. Well, now Utah, I should say. And Utah has acquired a lot of talent. The only thing, they need a couple of veterans to smooth out that team. They need two in the back end and a leader because they got a lot of talent. I mean, Logan Cooley, he's just going to be I love Logan Cooley.
All right, I'm back.
All right. Next
question. I didn't know it'd be
Hmm.
possible to basically soft reboot my computer without losing the stream. And that appears to have fixed the issue.
Oh, cool.
So, let's go. Brian says it's too rich, too expensive for his palate. You spend years building up a pipeline. I would hate to give up that much for older players.
Matthew Barzal's 28 years old. He's not old. And Barzal, he's signed till he's got 2 years.
He's got 1 year left.
Or 1 year left, yeah. Yeah, he's over in 26, so he's got 1 year left. I would definitely take a chance on him because, if you've ever watched the Islanders, and I watched the Islanders simply because they got some Minnesota boys on them. One is Anders Lee. He's so good in front of the net. You can't move him out. He gets the greasy goals, the one, and he doesn't have to work hard for it because he's so strong. He has really good hands. I could take him for 1 year, no problem. He would be an immediate fix for us. And with Barzell and Lee, first and second line, with Eck, that really shores up a huge shortcoming. Because right now, all we have is Erickson, Eck, with Rossi going. We need a center, a top line center, and they're not cheap. But there are ways of getting right. I mean, you can move money around. That's not a problem. You just got to have a team willing to do it. And I'm absolutely certain San Jose is open to anything because they got to spend, I don't know, $25 million or somewhere close to that. Can you look that up and see what their cap is at right now?
That's 42 million. The floor is 70.6 and they are at 52. They're at 52 million right now.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to spend. And they're not going anywhere yet. I mean, they're getting some nice pieces though. But that's what happens when you got to rebuild. I'm absolutely certain we could work out a deal with them. We got a good working relationship with San Jose. And that's something for Billy to consider. Next question.
Hurricane Helene says, can we chat about the Iowa Wild on how there isn't any coaching changes? I think the roster is a problem too, not just Brett McLean, but she wants to hear Hurricane Helene. I shouldn't assume a she, but wants to hear your opinion, Denny, on the Iowa Wild.
They're a train wreck. I'm going to tell you right now, Brett McLean's in way over his head. He's not a top-line coach. Coaches at that level, their biggest thing is to coach up players. And when you take last 2 years in a row, and when you consider that the NHL considers the Iowa Wild Farm Club one of the best in the NHL, top 5, I don't know what it is this year, top 10. Maybe you could look that up, Seth, and see where they're at. But when you have all that talent.
They're also the sixth oldest average age.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Well, everybody that they signed are pretty much borderline fourth line players.
My mistake. That was the 2021-2022 season. If I recall correctly, they had some older players there. Let me see what it was this past year. Yeah, they were the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th youngest average age.
Does it say where the NHL ranks them talent-wise? Last year was
talent-wise, number 5. That would be The Athletic. Let me check here.
Okay. And this year, I know they still had him in the top 10. But when you have that much talent down there, and to not make the playoffs says it all. They got to reshuffle. Last show I talked about Don Granato taking over down in Iowa. Because he's a hell of a coach. He knows how to coach kids up, and he's good with the kids. He would be a perfect replacement for McLean. McLean clearly does not belong as the head coach for the Iowa Wild. I've said that last year. Oh, excuse me. And I'm saying it this year. He's one of Billy's boys, though. What can you say? Next question.
To paraphrase BG, the thing he wants to avoid is a mistake signing a bad contract. I would not be disappointed if he isn't active in free agency. That's from Fridley Mike.
Absolutely. I hope Billy doesn't do any contracts, to be honest with you. But we have to get a first line center, and we need a left winger to replace Mojo. And I'm pretty sure that when they trade Rossi, I mean, if he's going to make a move, and one thing about Billy, he's not afraid about making a move, as we all know. And to maximize Rossi's potential and his trade value, yeah, you almost got to stick Ogren in to get a really, really good player. I mean, that's just how it works. And I'm not opposed to that at all. That's why I picked Matthew Barzal. $9.5 million for a 100-point player. That's a steal. And how they work out the money, that can be done. It can all be worked out. I'm not that worried about it. I mean, I've seen it before, and we'll see it again. You know, and the good thing is we have 5 rookies that are going to be in camp, and I'm pretty sure they're all going to be playing next year. And that's Urov, Zibuim, Jurasek, Wallstead, and possibly Ogren. I mean, we don't know yet, but I think he's going to get traded with Rossi. That's a very good mix of rookies to the pros. You got to have the young talent for for Spurgeon and Brodeen. It's the perfect time to bring in Jurasek and Zeke William. I mean, you have to have leaders that know when to push and when to step back. And there's nobody better than that, Spurgeon and Brodeen. It's a perfect complement for both of them. And for all you Spurgeon haters out there, you should see all the articles about how much they love Spurgeon playing for Canada. I mean, all the players, they couldn't believe how good he really was. And you know what the most common phrase was? Most underrated defenseman in the NHL. Well, we've known that for years. As I've talked about, Spurgeon closes the gap as good as anybody. He gets a stick in the passing lanes better than most. He breaks up more 2-and-1s than most people understand. And he's so smart. Yeah, he's undersized, but he makes up for it. And when you see all these all-stars from Canada just glowing reports on Spurgeon, that really made me feel good. Because I know we got a lot of Spurgeon haters here, but I love them. You know, last week I told you I thought they were top 10. I wasn't talking about points. I don't think, do they do graphs on defensive work, like breaking up 2-on-1s? And yeah, I couldn't find one either. What I'm talking about is defense, not offense. They break up more plays, and the things that defensemen should do to shut down the play. There's very few defensemen that can do what Spurgeon can do. Now, of course, I think right now Cale Makar is the best defenseman in the NHL. He's got it all. He can skate, he can shoot, he shuts down the gaps. His two-way game is excellent. And he's got the offensive flair, as we all know. And then you got Hughes, who's pretty close too. But Spurgeon is for shutting down plays. He's absolutely in my top 10. You know, and then somebody commented that Brock Faber wasn't even rated in the top 30. I was actually ranked 25th. And the thing with Brock Faber is this: they're playing him way too many minutes. They're burning him out. He should not be playing more than 20 minutes a game, period. Because you start playing that many minutes every night, you get tired mentally. And when you get tired mentally, you make mistakes. And we saw that a lot this year from Brock. Not because he's a bad player. He just, they're overusing him. And I think with the defense, the way it's getting set up, he should never play more than 20 minutes now, which would be a good thing because he'd be a much better player. You know, and the only thing Brock Faber has to work on is the shot. Needs a little bit quicker release. And that's it. He's got everything else. He's not as fast as Makar or Hughes, but he covers, his two-way game is excellent. I mean, he should be a top 20 defenseman, period. Did you find that Wilderness deal?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I'm going to have, because you remember last Sunday, I talked about Billy and the last 8 trades he did. Hockey Wilderness expounded upon it. I'm going to have Seth read it because I can't believe how many people were trying to protect Billy. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And we'll get into that later in the show because there's a few fans out there who've got to learn what hockey's all about. They're a little misconstrued. Oh.
You want me to read the entire article?
Well, read the first top half, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, this is by Philip Garrett of Hockey Wilderness. As a hockey fan, there are a few more depressing months than the half year without Minnesota Wild hockey. So seeing as the Wild are creatures of habit and got eliminated from the postseason early, it's time to be pessimistic again. The way I look at it is that there is always a chance to win the cup as long as you're still playing. So considering the Wild had occasionally looked impressive, it was safe to say I was skeptically hopeful of a deeper playoff run. However, that hope quickly rushed down the drain the second Gustav Nyquist forgot what constitutes offsides. I'm not saying the team's early exit lies solely on one player. That couldn't be further from the truth. But mistakes like Nyquist's can cost a team a game or worse, a series. Avoidable mistakes have cost the Wild notoriety for the last decade, but there is a chance to change that. With Minnesota finally out of cap hell, Bill Guerin can build a contending team. While one star can make all the difference, a team's success ultimately comes from the front office. They brought Nyquist back to Minnesota after his first unimpressive stint, but it's always easier to blame the player. In Nyquist's case, he is to blame. However, the Wild's problems run much deeper. The mistakes lie with Guerin's decision-making. Guerin has made a few questionable decisions throughout his tenure as general manager, including bringing in unproductive players. However, there has been a pattern in the preferences of players that Bill Guerin chooses to sign. They're all old. Guerin signed or traded for Patrick Maroon, Zach Bogosian, Ryan Reeves, and even Marc-Andre Fleury, who are all pickups, and only Fleury has done anything memorable in Minnesota. I still believe that Bill Guerin will continue to trade for age and experience over developing his highly rated prospect pool. I've had conversations with many Wild fans, and many still believe that Guerin was simply working with the cap he had. He couldn't afford better players, and I almost believed it. That was until I realized Guerin is trying to phase Marco Rossi out of the lineup. What more evidence do you need? Since long before the playoffs, rumors of the Wild trading Rossi have created a lot of conversation. I will say now what I said then. They shouldn't trade Rossi. However, players who haven't fit Guerin's mold haven't developed in Minnesota. Highly anticipated prospects like Kalen Addison, Kevin Fiala, and Murat Huznadinov have come and gone through the Wild system. Kevin Fiala was brought in as a trade, so he didn't develop in the system.
True.
Nitpicky. The Wild finally drafted and developed a top 6 center. However, when they needed something from their star players in the series against the Vegas Golden Knights, the coaching staff kept Rossi on the 4th line with grinders like Yakov Trenin and Justin Brazeau. Even though Rossi played 4th line minutes, he still found the back of the net. If I were Rossi, I would beg the Wild to trade me if it meant more playing time. Rossi has earned the right to be paid. However, Guerin appears unwilling to sign him long-term, allowing someone who could be part of a competitive core to leave Minnesota eventually. The Wild have valued players like Trenin and Brazeau over prospects with potential like Huznadinov and even Lauko. It's becoming evident that the front office doesn't prioritize developing players, which is likely why Bill Guerin is notorious for bringing on veterans at the back end of their careers. If developing players isn't a priority for the team, they're unlikely to build a contending roster under this management. They knew buying Zach Parise and Ryan Suter out would put the Wild in cap hell until the 2025-2026 season. They gave Bill Guerin a lot of leeway to build the team his way, without expectations to win immediately. All things considered, the Wild have played some of the most exciting hockey in franchise history. However, what good is regular season success if Guerin has not proven himself able to assemble a playoff caliber team? I don't know what is happening in the Wild's front office or Guerin's plans, but I hope I am wrong. If Guerin can turn the Wild into the team we have seen flashes of, I will support his vision. However, until he shows a clear, compelling vision, I'm not sure I trust his capabilities to run this team. Many red flags have me questioning whether Guerin is right for the Wild. Still, with more cap space, Guerin must build a roster that's ready to win now. If the Wild can't succeed in the playoffs soon, it's hard to believe Guerin used the cap hell years effectively.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And one thing, getting back to the Iowa Wild, and I tell you, this is very concerning. Hold on here. There we go. The players down in Iowa know they're not going to get to play. So that makes it a real problem to sign good young kids, because no matter what happens in Iowa, when they come up here, Hines sits them on the bench. You won't play them. And that's a real problem, more ways than one. When you're in Iowa, you expect when you do good that you'll get a shot at the big club. They don't believe that down in Iowa. I've heard some stuff and read some stuff exactly like that. That they just, what's the reason for playing for the Iowa Wild? Because they're not going to get to the big club. You know, and it started a couple of years ago with McBain, as I talked about last show. But think how many players are passing on the Wild now, coming out of college. Would we sign one? Maybe two from the college ranks this year? We got the one from Ohio State. I forget his name. And that's the only one I can think of. That's not a good sign. And when you got a coach down there who doesn't coach up the players, it's becoming a real nightmare. And the only way you can fix it is they got to clean house. And they really do. I mean, it's very hard not to make the playoffs in the AHL. Yet they've done it 2 years in a row. What more needs to be said? Jesus. Next question.
What are your thoughts on Carson Lambos? Jeremy says, I honestly think he's shown a lot of promise as a prospect on the blue line, and especially on the piss-poor Iowa Wild from last year.
I love Carson Lambos, and I wish he would get a shot, but for whatever reason, they don't like him. You know, he's big, he's strong, and I can tell you this, he'd be much better than Bogo. But for whatever reason, they aren't going to play him. That's why I keep including him in trades, because he needs a shot to play, and he's not going to get it here. I mean, as the Wilderness articles quoted, the rookies don't get nothing here. So now they stop coming even. It's a huge problem. My sentiments on this, Billy has to step aside, get rid of John Hines, because Hines won't play the rookies. Well, now he's got to play them, but he's going to look for reasons not to play them. And I'll give Zeke William as an example. When he didn't play in the last game of the year with Anaheim, and then threw him in the fire for the playoffs, one of the worst coaching decisions I've ever seen. You know, the biggest thing with a kid coming out of college is learning the speed of the game here. And I think John Hines did that on purpose, so he could pull him and have an excuse why he did it. And I know a lot of people are going to go crazy on that one, but I really do. I think he did that on purpose, because there's no reason not to play Zeke Boy in the last game against Anaheim to get his feet wet. Instead, he throws him in the fire right away and to stick him with Bodo. I don't know what his coaching thoughts were on that. We never will know. But the more I think about it, I'm absolutely certain he did this on purpose just so he didn't have to play him. From one flimsy little fluke play to pull him. And you remember, the only 2 games we won was with Zeke playing. But yet that wasn't good enough. Yeah, the Iowa Wild are a mess. Billy Guerin and John Hines have to go. Billy's president, so he just has to step aside. There we go. And hopefully, and I brought this up last week. Now, I don't know if Judd Brackett wants this, but if he wants to do the trades too, I'd much rather have Judd Brackett making the trades because he does, he's in charge of making the picks when it's draft time. And even though I got a lot of response saying that's Billy Guerin, no, it's Judd Brackett. Guarantee you. You can call the Minnesota Wild and they'll tell you that too. He doesn't ask Billy for permission. He picks who he thinks is the best. And he's done a hell of a job. He's 70% on his picks so far. Murat, who they gave away for nothing. I'd much rather have Murat on the 4th line than it just I'm so disturbed by them dropping Rossi down to the 4th line. But that's the way it's going. Rossi's gone. Otherwise, why would they stick him on the 4th line when he's been a 1st or 2nd line center of the whole year and excelling? He's a 2nd-year player. And his misuse just tells me they don't like him, they don't want him. And Rossi, I'm sure, is going to be happy as hell to get out of here. And it's a sad thing to say, but I really think that's the condition of the Wild right now. It all depends on what Billy does at trade time. And whether you like Barzell for the $9.5 million, for a 1st-line center, that's a deal now. And 1 year of Anders Lee, I'll take that in a heartbeat. He's worth 50, 60 points. And $5.5 million, yeah, that works all day long. Because you're not going to get a 1st-line center that's any good for less than $9 million. I mean, I'm still looking at other teams. Next week I'll have another trade package. But Matthew Barzal fits what we need exactly. And playing with Kaprizov, whew,
But why would he want to come here if you're going to fire everybody and just trade everybody and sell the team and jettison the team to another state? Why would they want to come here? If you're firing the GM and the coach and starting from scratch and firing all of the coaches in Iowa, why is anybody going to want to come here? Players on this roster are going to want to leave the roster, and you're going to have a full rebuild on your hands. Are you okay with that?
No, we won't have a full rebuild. We're only a couple pieces away from being a very good team.
And yet it is players. Fire the GM and fire the coach and have the owner sell the team. Everybody's got to go. Even though you just said we're a couple of pieces away. You can't have it both ways.
Well, number one, I didn't say fire Billy. He's the president. He just needs to step aside and let somebody else make the deals. He's still president, and I don't see him going anywhere. And as far as our owner, Craig Leopold, I love Craig. He spends the money. And that's all you can ask for from the owner. But the coaches in Iowa, they got to go. Last place 2 years in a row.
And I don't dispute that, because there has not been any sort of tangible progress. But like I get a little. The offseason hasn't even started.
I
And
know.
we're just continually rehashing the stuff about Billy's got to go. Hines has got to go. I can't believe they are going to trade Rossi. He hasn't been traded yet. I know it's likely to happen, but can we at least leave the pitchforks on the front steps until Bill Guerin comes out of his door and says this is what he's going to do? That's all I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying, and a lot of people have the same sentiment. You know, from the last show, I had a lot of people protecting Billy. I'm just telling you what I see. You know, I've been watching hockey for 60 years, and I can tell you, Lou Nanny was so good at making deals. And even though we never won the cup, of course, we did win the cup in Dallas. Because that was our team. That was Lou Nanny's team that won the cup. The only person they brought in was Brett Hall. Otherwise, it was all the Minnesota North Stars. And Billy has done a couple of good deals. I mean, you know, the Brock Faber one for Fiala, that was an excellent deal. But I think that was more Judd Brackett because I think Los Angeles gave 3 players to pick from. And I'm pretty certain it was Judd Brackett who picked Faber. I don't know that for sure, but that's what he does. And for everybody that thinks that Billy makes the picks at draft, wrong. Call the Minnesota Wild. They'll tell you Judd Brackett is in charge, period. He does not ask for permission. He makes the deals. He makes the picks, period. It's his job to do that. And Billy has said so several times. So, you know, of course, Billy can make a deal if he wants. I mean, he's the president. He can do whatever he wants. But he relegates the duty to Judd. And, you know, Billy has a lot of really good hockey minds underneath him. He's very good at delegating, you know, whatever they got to do. That's the one thing I like about him. He hires good staff. But as far as him doing trades, I mean, well, I gave you the last 2 years in his 8 trades. How'd they work out? You know, Gustav, Brazeau, Trennan. And you can go back, you know, farther and farther. It doesn't matter. I can't think of the last time he made a good deal. It was, what, 3 years ago when we got Brock Faber?
And what has Billy done consistently over the course of the last few years? He has continually gone back to, we're not playing with a full deck. We're not playing with the full utilization of the cap. So my stance is
yes, let's hear
that Billy and Hines and Iowa get the full duration of the season with the full deck. And if they don't deliver, if they don't show tangible progress, then guess who's going to be in the first in line with the pitchfork? It's going to be me. But I'm not going to knock on their door until after I have seen what, and I may be kidding myself by suggesting that things are going to change, but now there's nothing to hide behind. And if they don't make tangible progress on this roster, if they don't fill those couple of spots that this roster needs, we're going to be in the same spot we were. But now there are jobs on the line. And so that's my hope that we will see things finally get done, is that now there are jobs on the line and you don't have anything to hide behind. There's no buffer. So if things don't continue to progress, if they don't improve, then Billy's gone. Judd Brackett's gone. John Hines is gone. The whole thing is gone.
Judd Brackett won't be getting fired, period.
What does the phrase clean house mean?
Now, whoever takes over the Wild, if that should happen, they'll keep in Judd Brackett. Everybody knows how good he is at making picks. He's been phenomenal. You know, I think the best deal he ever did is when he traded 2 spots up with Edmonton to get Wallstead. That was just a stud deal. And did they overpay a little bit for Jurasek? Well, you know what? They look at what's coming, what's going on with the upcoming draft, and they thought it was better to give that up to get him than the players that are coming up in the draft. And that's a decision. I love Jurasek. I think he's going to be a stud as long as they play him. You know, I think he's a game breaker. And you look at Z William, that's another Judd pick. He's an all-star. I mean, what he did for the USA, he wasn't good enough to play for us, but he basically took over the USA championship. He was so good down there. It only took him like 2 games before he was running the show. And he's going to be a superstar. He's going to be our best defenseman. Might take a year, but he will be. He's that good. His skating is fun. His skating is almost as good as Brodin's right now. And there's no better skating defenseman than Brodin, other than Makar. He's smooth as silk on transition, front, back. I'm so high on Brodin and Spurgeon. I know a lot of people will want to get rid of him because he gets hurt. Well, you know, the only thing I have to do is stop blocking shots with your feet and legs. Because when you get old, your bones start getting brittle. But like I say, I really think with William and Jurasek in the bottom 6, we have a cup contender right there. We need a center and we need a left wing. 2 pieces. And well, because we got a good core, you know, and everybody, Judd's Hockey Show did their top 10. And you know who they didn't even talk about was Foligno. Foligno's the heart and soul of our club. You need players like Foligno to be successful. And he's a very good grinder. And they didn't even talk about him, which was disappointing. But, you know, we have what? 6 players that played in, how many played in the 4 nations? Was it 5 or 6?
It's 5.
5. 5 core players. And that's a very good start. You know, like I say, it's whatever Billy does is coming up. And that's why I think Matthew Barzal and Anders Lee would be perfect fits for us because we would be cup contender then. And who knows how, you know, Hines may have a change of pace about playing the kids because that, honestly, I think he almost has to now. Whether he wants to or not, I think he has to. Because, you know, Yurov has got the Russian deal, so if he doesn't like how they're treating him, he's going back to Russia. Well, that's not happening. They're going to make him happy. I really think they're going to start Yurov on the second line in center and see how it goes. I mean, that's how you should do it. You got to give him 20 games and see how he reacts to the speed of the game here in his 2-way game. Because the one thing I don't know about Yurov is his 2-way game. You know, all they show is highlights of him scoring. So I can't give you an honest opinion on his overall game, but it won't be long before we will be seeing it. Any more questions?
We're going to end with this.
Okay.
Every day Bob says every day I see all these parades of trades that take a ton of gymnastics to make happen. Corey Perry just scored his 5th goal of the playoffs. Get the right guy, not the most expensive.
Oh, that's a miracle on ice. Herbie Brooks there. Yes, I like it. Because Herbie Brooks told Lou and Annie, and who was the other guy that was in charge of Miracle on Ice there? Herbie says, the right player. And he's already had him picked, and boy, was he right. But that's a good one, Bob. Good one. You get a shout out for that. Okay. Anything else?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for watching the show and taking your time to listen to me and Seth rant and rave. But that's what this is about. And we'll see you next Sunday, I think. Next Sunday on. Or
This
Monday.
coming or
Yeah.
the first? Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So we'll see you next Sunday. And I'll have another trade package for us to talk about. And in fact, Seth, why don't you put up a poll for that trade package and see what everybody thinks? Can you do that?
Can you text it to me? I can't remember.
Yeah, not a problem. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Bye.